I'm just gonna get this out of the way now. The archetype is called Dragma. Do with that what you will. Cimoooooooo! What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So today I'm bringing to you a video on a brand new archetype announced for Rise of the Duelist, a set following Eternity Code, and that is Dragma. Now, Dragma's rather interesting. We've seen some extremely powerful cards coming out of Rise of the Duelist already, and Dragma's one of those archetypes that at first glance it actually looks like it has a lot of meta potential, and that's why I wanted to go ahead and bring you this video today. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So, starting off with Dragma Ecclesia, it is a level 4 light spellcaster effect monster, 1500 attack, 1500 defense. You can only use the first and second effects of this card once per turn. The first effect is if a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. A lot of the Dragma monsters have this effect, and I will go ahead and go over that a little bit later on. But just keep in mind that it doesn't have to be your opponent's monster specifically from the extra deck. It can be one that you control as well, so bear that in mind. Second effect reads, if this card is no more special summon, you can add one Dragma card from your deck to your hand, except itself. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn. That's a pretty big drawback, but you are able to generate advantage with this card, and depending on the way the deck is built, it may not matter as much. Keep in mind it says for the rest of the turn, so that means that you could do plays from the extra deck before you use this effect, and that way you're getting the full value out of everything, but just make sure you do have that proper sequencing. Finally, the third effect cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. That's pretty cool, actually, because if your opponent's playing a very heavy combo deck and you're looking to like wall up so you don't die, one Dragma could actually prevent you from getting OTK'd in some instances. So minor, just a minor note there, but it could be a actually rather relevant effect. So that's it for Ecclesia. Let's go ahead and move down here to Theo, the Dragma Iron Hammer. Pretty cool name, too. Level 4 light spellcaster effect, 1800 attack, 1500 defense. Bear in mind, these are all lights, and every time I see light attribute now, I want to think invoked. So as long as Alistair and Meltdown and Invocation are all at 3, there could be some potential there to have some sort of invoked Dragma deck. Who knows? But you can only use the 1 and 3 effects once per turn. It has the effect that you can special summon it from if you control a monster from the extra deck, or if there's one on the field, excuse me. Second effect, cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special summoned from the extra deck, so similar to the last card. Third effect, you can target a face-up monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. Till the end of this turn, this card gains 600 attack, and if it does, that target loses 600 attack. So a 1200 point swing in total. What's interesting about this whole extra deck battle dynamic is that sometimes just summoning a monster and just being able to attack over it is actually a way to out certain cards. So for instance, think of stuff like IP Masquerena, right? Or some of these other cards that they just might be like in defense mode or even attack mode, just depending on how they're positioned. If you just have a simple effect like that and just are able to just hit over something, that could be enough to out it in and of itself. I mean, again, I don't know if you'd really want to like rely on that, but it is something just to keep in mind when it comes to this somewhat anti-meta focused deck, since it is so focused on going after the extra deck. Next up is Adine, the Dragma Oracle. So level 4 light spellcaster, 1000 attack, 1800 defense. You can only use the 1 and 3 effects per turn. It has the effect to special summon if there's an extra deck monster on the field. Cannot be destroyed by battle with another monster special summon from the extra deck. And if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon one Dragma monster from your deck except another copy of itself. Keep in mind you can destroy it yourself. So if you have any card like Dragonic Diagram or Zodiac Barrage, again, I'm just showing examples out there, but if you have a way to destroy itself, you not only get the advantage off of the card that you use to activate to pop the Adine, but then you get the replacement for it as well. You could go into the first card, Ecclesia, and then plus off of that if you summon her. So that's pretty neat. Overall, not too bad so far. Next we have Fleur-de-Lis, the Dragma Knight. The artwork on these cards too, also by the way, really, really cool. So it is a level 8 spellcaster, 2500 attack, 2500 defense. It is a light. You can only use the first and second effects once per turn. It has the effect where if an extra deck monster is on the field, you can special summon it. And also, you can special summon, and if you control another Dragma monster, you can negate the effects of one face-up monster on the field until the end of the turn. This is really cool because this can force your opponent to have to negate this card, because if they don't, that monster's effect is going to get negated anyway, and you have a 2500 body on the board for your troubles that could like potentially hit over something else. So that's a really, really cool card. Second effect, when your Dragma monster declares an attack, you can make all Dragma monsters gain 500 attack. That's really cool. That means he goes up to 3k. All the bodies on these cards are actually pretty formidable. I think Theo's 18, the Ecclesia's 15, so they'll get to pretty large attack values. Very, very solid card there. Liking that one a lot. Next up is Maximus Dragma. So it's a level 8 light spellcaster, 1500 attack, 3000 defense. You can only use the 1 and 2 effects per turn. You can banish one Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link from your graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand, okay? During your main phase, you can activate this effect. You can special summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn. Or excuse me, you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn. Also, send 2 monsters with different names from your extra deck to the graveyard. Also, your opponent sends 2 monsters from their extra deck to the graveyard. So first of all, the summoning condition on this is incredibly easy, because if you have any Link monster whatsoever, which is probably the easiest way just to get something into the graveyard, you can just summon this out for free. So that's pretty cool. And then its other effect, to send cards from your extra deck to the graveyard to force your opponent to do the same. This is neat because not only are you ripping cards out of their extra deck, and yeah, maybe the least valuable card since they get to choose. However, what's interesting is that you can choose which monsters are in your extra deck and generate advantage off of those. Think if you send something like Untitled off of this, you'll get to be able to pop 2 cards your opponent controls as a result of that. I'm pretty sure that interaction works. I'm sure someone in the comments will correct me if it doesn't, but there are cards that if they are just sent to the graveyard, you're able to trigger them, and this card will allow you to do that. I think that is really, really cool, and has a very easy summoning condition at that as well. Next up, we have Tetradragmaton, the Heart of Dogma. Really cool name. Level 11 light spellcaster, 3200 attack and defense. Must first be special summoned by its own effect. You can target 4 Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monsters in either graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand. If you do, banish those targets. Okay, so what's really cool about this is that you can banish 4 of your opponent's Link monsters and just drop this thing onto the board. That's pretty nice. Also, the card we just talked about can force you to send 2 from your extra deck to the graveyard as well. So that gives you halfway there to the Heart of Dogma. Second effect, at the start of the damage step, if this card battles a special summon monster, destroy as many opponent's attack position monsters as possible, then inflict 800 damage to your opponent for each Fusion, Synchro, Link, or Xyz monster destroyed by this effect. Pretty big blowout there. I mean, this thing's also gigantic, being 3200, goes up to 37 if you have the other card onto the field. Very, very interesting. That summoning condition is actually very easy if you're going up against like combo decks, for instance, because think about how loaded their graveyards are after they assemble their board. So interesting, very, very interesting to say the least. Now we're getting into the spell cards here. We have Dogmatic Nation Dragma. So it's a field spell. You can only use the 2 and 3 effects once per turn each. Neither player can target Dragma monster you control with the effects of monsters that were special summoned from the extra deck. That's pretty good. It has some built-in protection. Targeting, while it may not be the most applicable type of removal, it is relevant in some instances, so do keep that in mind. Second effect, if your Dragma monster battles an opponent's monster, after damage calculation, you can destroy that opponent's monster. That's really cool. Notice it also doesn't say monster special summon from the extra deck. It just says opponent's monster. So if there is one extra deck monster on the field, you can empty your hand, play the field spell, which I guess you'd want to play the field spell first for protection, but regardless, and then you can just destroy all of your opponent's monsters if this field spell is up. That's pretty good. And then the third effect, if this face-up card in the field zone is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can make both players send 1 monster from their extra deck to the graveyard. So while it doesn't generate you advantage if the card were to be sent to the, or destroyed and sent to the graveyard by your opponent, you could then effectively do what I was alluding to earlier and like send like an Intis or something and like pop a card your opponent controls. So you're able to make your opponent lose a resource as well and do any other shenanigans that you could from sending stuff from the extra deck. So interesting, very interesting. I love that damage calculation battle destruction. That's really neat. So now we have Disciple of the Nadir. That's really funny. Shoutouts to Farfa. So normal spell card, you can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Send one monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. Then add one Dragma monster or one Albus the Nullius Filius from your deck or graveyard to your hand with attack less than or equal to that sent monsters. For the rest of this turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. So that's pretty good. It's a searcher. You don't lose any advantage. It also helps get to your big boss monster because you want to send those cards to the graveyard. It also just helps you get to the lesser boss monster, the one that you just have to banish any one of an extra deck type. So that's pretty neat. Again, it also can trigger stuff like Untitled, so very, very neat utility and use of the extra deck in a way we really haven't seen before outside of a deck like Infernoid, right? And even then, this goes like far beyond that because Infernoid, it's just like imagination. This is like every card in the archetype. So next up is Dragma Punishment, normal trap. You can only activate it once per turn. Target a face-up monster your opponent controls. Send one monster from your extra deck to the graveyard with an equal or higher attack, and if you do, destroy the targeted monster. Until the end of your next turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. So again, you have the ability to essentially pop any monster your opponent controls, and depending on what you send, you could get some added value off of that as well. So pretty neat. You're using it on your opponent's turn most likely, so it doesn't matter that you can't special summon from the extra deck, because that's most likely not happening on your opponent's turn. So the drawback is pretty irrelevant unless you use it on your own turn. Pretty okay card. Again, it's a trap and it does destroy and a target, so it does have its downsides. Next up, we have Dragma Encounter. So another normal trap. You can only activate one card per turn, and you get to pick one of these effects. Either special summon a Dragma monster or Albus the Nullius Filius from your hand, or take one Dragma monster or one Albus the Nullius Filius from your graveyard and either add it to your hand or special summon it. So it's effectively like a Call of the Haunted, but you're not like tied to it being a continuous trap. So it's a monster reborn. Pretty cool just to be able to disrupt your opponent's plays in a way. It can help trigger the first card, so that way you can get some advantage on your opponent's turn. Pretty neat. I don't think you're going to be using the first effect as often because that's kind of a minus. It's more going to be used so for the resurrection effect for sure. So next we're going to get to Albus the Nullius Filius. This is a card that we've been talking about in the past few cards here. It's a level 4 Dark Dragon effect monster, 1800 attack, 0 defense. Why this is relevant is because since it's dark, you now have chaos typing, Levineer becomes viable. There are some reasons why dark typing actually matters for this archetype. So you can only use each of the effects once per turn. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can discard one card. Fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using this card on the field and monsters your opponent controls as fusion material. So I don't want to say it's super poly because it doesn't have the clause where your opponent can't respond to it, but being able to use your opponent's monsters, that's pretty sick. It doesn't restrict you into summoning specifically a Dragma monster, so you're still able to play like super poly targets, and this card can actually allow you to summon those. So that's pretty cool. Some very interesting synergies there. There's also a fusion monster, which is the last card we're going to be talking about for this archetype, so you can also go into this card as well. So this is Bastard the Ashen Dragon. So it's a level 8 Dark Dragon fusion effect monster, 2500 attack, 2000 defense. Also, they're going to completely change the name of this when it comes to the TCG, just saying. It requires Albus the Nullius Filius and one monster with 2500 or more attack. You can only use the 3 effect of this card once per turn. This card gains attack equal to the total original levels of the monster used as materials for this card's fusion summon times 100. So since you're already using Albus, that's 4, so it's going to be 2900 minimum, and then whatever else you fusioned off with it. After this card is fusion summoned, for the rest of this turn, it is unaffected by activated effects from any other monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. That is very, very powerful. That's very Miscellaneousaurus-esque, and if your opponent's very reliant on their extra deck, that's very difficult for your opponent to deal with in a lot of instances. It stops your opponent from using any sort of like extra deck disruption during your turn, again, alluding to like Masquerena, things like that. Very neat effect there. Then finally, during the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can take one Dragma monster or Albus the Nullius Filius from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. So this is another card you can play in your extra deck, most likely a 3 of, that if you're using any of these effects to send cards from your extra deck to the graveyard to activate or to summon, then during the end phase, you're going to generate some advantage and you actually plussed off of all of those interactions, even though it does wait until the end phase. This is very reminiscent comparison of, say, Eldritch. Eldritch does this with a lot of their cards, but being able to replace themselves is very, very powerful. And even though, again, this doesn't really do, it's nothing like crazy that you're going to be stopping your opponent. Like, this card doesn't win you the game, right? But the fact that this helps support your engine, the fact that it gives you a way to kind of nullify a lot of your opponent's cards if they're being very extra deck heavy, very, very interesting card nonetheless. I think there's a lot of potential with this archetype. We don't know all the cards, and even if this is just the first wave of support, there's going to be more to come in the future, most likely, since this is like the first like core set of like the next year, technically speaking. So even so, this looks very, very promising, and I'm very excited to see where people take this. Guys, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this archetype. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content, and if you found this video informational, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member. Just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.